Welcome back to Where Do We Go From Here? I'm your host, Kimon Kotos, and I'm here with the Director of Public Safety for the City of Muskegon, Chief Tony Kleibecker. And thanks again, Tony, for joining us. We were talking about your role in the community and the role of the police department in terms of being really a community builder and being concerned about the overall protection and well-being of the community. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the demands for service? Most of the things that are high profile tend to be murders, domestic violence issues, drunk driving, break-ins. What are some of the things that you deal with, and is it really across the board, or are there things that tend to happen more frequently here?
Our demands for service, our calls for service really are a wide variety, and they really are across the board. I mean, certainly you hear about the higher profile cases, a shooting, the occasional homicide, maybe an armed robbery and so forth, but if you look at just numbers, certainly those fall, if you look at that just as a number, fall to the low side. Now, when they occur, certainly when a homicide occurs, it takes a tremendous amount of our resource. I mean, that goes without saying, and we will put a lot of resource to that until we bring that case to a close. The other stuff doesn't end, though. And so for quality of life issues in the neighborhood, traffic enforcement, drunk driving enforcement, those things are out there. And so it's about allocating resources, striking a balance in our resources to make certain that we can handle all of this. And as we've shrunk, certainly our calls for service and demands have not shrunk. Certainly has remained the same, and some years even a little bit higher. So what we've had to do is to adapt, to tweak the organization so that we get the most effective use of our officers in dealing with those calls and dealing with the demand for service.
Well, I think the public should be aware that when they call 911, that there's somebody on the other end of the line that is going to respond.
Yes.
But that takes a toll as well. And I think it's important to acknowledge the demand on the personnel and the people who serve the community, that they're human beings too, and
sure.
These stresses do add up. Would you like to address some of the issues? And tell us a little bit about the department, the officers you have, men and women.
You and I were talking earlier, but I spoke out recently about the strain that the department was under just from the special events that we have. And it's great that we have special events in this city. Mm-hmm. It seems like we're kind of set up for that. But as I spoke to our commission last month, actually I think on a couple different occasions, I think we've reached kind of a tipping point on your awareness out, and the bulk of our special events are between Memorial Day and Labor Day, but certainly that's also when our call load generally is the highest. We're trying to get staff off, take some breaks, some vacations with their families, and just that those continual demands of special events have placed us under strain. When I started here in 2000, we were authorized at 91 officers. Currently, we're authorized at 79, so there's 12 positions gone. What people don't see, and this is a discussion that we continue to have during the budget process, is even though that we are authorized to have 79 officers, right now we're at 72. We have a military deployment, we have a couple administrative situations where we have people off, and we have a number of officers off with long-term injuries. So you go from 2000, when we were fully staffed at 91, to realistically right now we're at 72. That's 19 fewer officers. That's what roughly a quarter of the department that we've lost pretty much in the last 6 to 7 years. That's the way it is. We can whine and cry about it, it's not going to do any good. I think for all law enforcement agencies across this country facing budget situations, we're going to have to be leaner, more efficient, and more effective organizations. So certainly that's what we're trying to accomplish, and how we assign people. And really, I think about it all the time on, is there a better way to be organized? And we talked about analyzing crime and patterns earlier. We do that on a monthly basis. We look at time of day, day of week, on how we allocate our resources so we can best meet those needs of the community through the call load that we get. And it does place a strain on the officers, but we're doing as well as we can. Humor is important. That helps us tremendously. But I feel we're very fortunate in the city. We've got great staff here, and they work very hard, and they take their jobs very seriously. So in that regards, I think we're in good shape, even though there's fewer of us. the motivation's still there, and the professionalism is still there to do our jobs and to do it well.
Well, can you talk a little bit about the background and the age range of your officers and any of the other members of the department?
Well, most of them are a lot younger than me. But we have I would say, a younger department now. Age range, obviously, from early 20s to mid 50s. Mm-hmm. And so we've got a variety of officers, which is kind of nice because you've got newer, younger officers, but we've also got people here who are experienced, who've been on the job 10 or 15 years, and who can really serve as mentors and trainers. Even though you leave that field training process after your first year, it is always a learning process. I mean, in my position, I still learn things. I mean, I think that's important to have that mindset. But after, I've been here and been in law enforcement now for 35 years, I'm still learning. When you deal with people mm-hmm. as your number one product and the issues that come with those people, there isn't a day go by that I don't hear of or learn something new. And you can take that and you learn from it. You become a better police officer, but I think you also become a better person. So that type of experience for all of us across the age ranges that we have here, I think is important, especially if you take that and you build upon that. And that's what we stress from within.
Well, you mentioned we have a soldier that's deployed. Can you talk a little bit about some of the backgrounds? Are most of the, or percentage of them college graduates, come from different backgrounds and chose mm-hmm. The police or public safety as a career?
Yeah, we come from a wide range. I mean, you have people who that was their target profession. They wanted to be law enforcement. And you have other people who came back from military service and thought this would be a good thing to do. We've got somebody who was a teacher, and she chose this field after teaching for a while. She said, this is what I want to do. So we have a number of folks in those areas who started off in a different profession but said, I'd like to do that, and I think I can do it really well. So a wide range. Many of our officers have college degrees, at least an associate degree. We encourage that. Some have masters. Mm-hmm. And so you get a wide range of people. I think that's really important, because of what I said just a moment ago is we deal and interact with people who come from a wide variety of backgrounds and a wide variety of life events. Mm-hmm. And certainly we try to mirror that as best we can, because I think you're more effective when you have that type of diversity within the organization, that type of experiential diversity within the organization. And I just think that makes us successful.
Well, I think it's important that the officers are expected to be alert and on mm-hmm. duty a lot, and so they have to be responsive and curious. So you need to have a personality that really is interested in serving.
Being nosy helps. Having that bend toward being nosy helps, but it does. I mean, really, I never considered myself to be a nosy person in my life, but really when I look back on my career, especially when I was not in an administrative position, I was nosy. And it paid benefits. I mean, it makes you good at what you do. And
well, then that means really asking questions and probing.
Absolutely probing, looking at situations, saying, what's going on over there? This doesn't look right. Or you're interviewing somebody and you just kind of keep probing. You don't give up. You think, well, what about this or what about that? And to be a good interviewer, and even you think of detectives as being good interviewers, but really line staff, patrol officers, and our neighborhood officers are in the same position, sometimes maybe even more. They may do actually more interviews. It may not be a big taped interview, but certainly as they investigate a crime at a home, their job is to really probe and pry and try and come up with as much information, and they may continue on with the case or may get assigned to a detective. Either way, you need to probe that. You need to poke and probe and collect and gather as much information as you can to give us a better opportunity to solve that crime.
Well, that's great, and we want you to stay with us and probe more about the police department here and your role in the community and why it matters that we keep a safe and healthy Muskegon. So stay with us.